You're listening to Faith, Stewardship, and Insurance, Protecting Texas Churches. The show that gives pastors and church leaders the clarity they need to protect their people, property, and ministry.
Welcome back to Faith, Stewardship, and Insurance, Protecting Texas Churches. I'm your host, Ron Wadley with Insurance for Texans. We help church leaders protect their people and property with clarity and confidence. This week, we are doing a series of liability protections for Texas churches. Today, we are going to better understand employment lawsuits and liability protections that are available for Texas churches. Hannah has spent 35 years serving her church in Tyler. She's lived through pastoral transitions, unhappy members, and even a few building campaigns that almost closed the church. But nothing prepared her for the day a process server walked into the office and handed her a lawsuit. Earlier that year, the church had let an employee go. Now that former employee was suing the church, claiming wrongful termination. Hannah was stunned, because stuff like that is not supposed to happen to small East Texas churches. But it did. And like many churches across Texas, her church's leadership suddenly found itself facing lots of stress and going through a crash course on something they'd never heard of before. Employment Practices Liability Insurance. It protects churches from claims made by current, former, or even prospective employees who believe their rights were violated. That includes a list of things, including wrongful termination, discrimination, and sexual harassment. Even if the church did nothing wrong, you still have to defend the claim. And legal defense is where churches get crushed financially. And that's exactly the storm that Hannah's church was facing. Churches operate differently from traditional businesses, and that creates unique liabilities. A few examples include pastors and staff often wear many hats. Termination decisions can be influenced by doctrine, ministry fit, or spiritual concerns. Hiring may require theological alignment, creating potential discrimination exposure. Relationships between staff and leadership are deeply personal, which means emotions run high during conflict. When someone feels wronged, a lawsuit can follow. Today, churches are no safer from employment litigation than schools, nonprofits, or private companies. Most churches assume that their general liability policy covers employment issues, but it does not. General liability covers bodily injury and property damage, not employment disputes. EPLI fills that gap by covering attorney fees, settlements, court costs, mediation, and investigative expenses. It also gives church leaders room to breathe. Instead of scrambling to protect the budget, they can let the carrier handle the legal process and focus on the congregation. Wrongful termination is the number one employment claim churches face. Many of these claims arise from fixable mistakes that churches make, which include poor documentation, inconsistent HR practices, and lack of written policies or employee handbooks. In addition, it is not often due to a church's intention, but an employee's perception that sparks a lawsuit. Protecting your church from these claims involves both prevention as well as solid insurance coverage. EPLI coverage is the foundation, and prevention starts with things like creating or updating employee handbooks, documenting performance concerns and decisions, training supervisors and ministry staff on HR basics, and using consistent hiring and termination processes. These steps don't completely eliminate risk, but they drastically reduce it. If your church has employees, now is the time to review your coverage. Visit insurancefortexans.com to connect with a church insurance specialist who can review your policies and help you secure the right coverage. And while you're thinking through these important decisions, pick up your copy of our book, The Promise of Certainty, at thepromiseofcertainty.com. I'm Ron Wadley, and this has been Faith, Stewardship, and Insurance, Protecting Texas Churches. Until next time, remember, leadership carries responsibility, and good stewardship requires protecting the resources God has entrusted to you.
Thanks for listening to Faith, Stewardship, and Insurance. Until next time, remember, Insurance isn't just about policies. It's about safeguarding the mission God has called you to lead.